there has to be a certain segment of people who have knowledge of what this person did or the industry they're in, who will not discuss it.
Yeah.
We're just like, there is no conversation here. I'm in that category. When it started to come up that like maybe LeBron is better, I was just like, oh, well, I won't be discussing that, because it's not a fair comparison. It's not fair on LeBron.
Welcome to Who's the GOAT podcast. This is me, Leroy Brito, where every week I speak to sports stars, comedians, people in the music world about that age-old question, who is the greatest of all time? And I've got a great one in front of me today. I've got my good friend, Jarlath Regan, all the way up from Ireland. How's it going, my friend?
Hello. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
It's great to see you. It's been, well, it hasn't been that long, actually. Only like a month or two since I last saw you.
Yeah, man. I was so intrigued when you brought me the idea of this podcast, because this is just something that, like, when you think about how we know each other is backstage, different gigs, and these kind of long journeys that you have through the comedy world where you're just chopping it up and shooting the shit about top fives, top threes. It just it's an endless sort. You're going to have so many rivaling opinions on this podcast. It's great.
Yes, we are. So let's get deep into it, because this is a good one, and this is something close to both our hearts. So, Jarlath, who is the GOAT to you?
I like that you said this is a good one, as opposed to all the other episodes which are dog shit. The GOAT for me, in terms of sports people, is Michael Jordan. And I don't know how you're going to tee up this episode if MJ's name is going to be in the episode title, but when you came to me and asked for a GOAT, this was the first person that I heard that term in reference to.
Okay.
I didn't know of the term until it was coined in relation to him, because he's one of those people who completely changed not just his field of expertise, but fashion, business, marketing. He changed how the game was played, how people viewed excellence and hard work. And, you know, he's also the greatest of all time at some not so great things as well.
Yeah.
I think when we get into it, like, he doesn't do anything by halves, and there's obviously a debate around whether he is the greatest of all time, like so many of your episodes. But in the instance of Michael Jordan, anybody that debates whether he is the greatest of all time is an idiot. So it's a great way to find out who's dumb. Or who knows nothing about Michael Jordan or basketball.
Yeah.
Because he is absolutely unmatched in terms of his impact and the level that he reached.
Yes. And as you said, we will get into it later in terms of, you know, some of the not nice things that he's probably the pettiest of all time as well.
Yeah, true.
But just think in terms of, you know, just keeping him on the basketball court at the moment. But I think, you know, for us growing up in the 90s, it was just, this is the person, he's never, ever going to be surpassed. This was just for us. And then the debate came along, you know, with LeBron and the argument there. And, you know, it's, you know, for a lot of people, it's either 1A, 1B in terms of LeBron, but then people ignore, you know, people who came before him. So you're thinking of, you know, one of my favorites ever is Magic Johnson, but I don't think he's up there at that level. You've got Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, etc. But for Michael, you know, it's always, I think it's a test of who he is, that it's never who's the greatest of all time, LeBron or Michael. It's always Michael or LeBron, because he is the 1A.
Well, you see, I think that it's not actually a debate. I think that to be a GOAT, there has to be you have to exist in another space. There has to be, like, Tony McCoy is the example of the jockey who's the greatest of all time in terms of national hunt racing. There's Tony McCoy, then there's everybody else. And that's that's how it's got to be even in a conversation to be considered the greatest of all time. There has to be a certain uh, segment of people who have knowledge of what this person did or the industry they're in, who will not discuss it.
Yeah.
We're just like, there is no conversation here. I'm in that category. When it started to come up that like maybe LeBron is better, I was just like, oh, well, I won't be discussing that because it's not a fair comparison. It's not fair on LeBron. And one of those comparisons, and one of the reasons why it's not fair is because the sport changed, the rules changed. The whole thing was much more physical when Michael Jordan played, and nobody really outside of those that know basketball will know this, that like it was. And it's like, basketball's a non-contact sport is something that gets said to you when you're in England or Ireland.
Yes, yeah.
And in those days, it was non-contact. I don't know how you could call it non-contact, because the second you got the ball, if you were a threat, the idea was to take that person out.
Yeah.
And he got the worst treatment of that. He was one of the toughest men on the planet, because literally he was averaging 37 points a game in an era when lads could clothesline you as you dribbled the ball and not get thrown out of the game. That would just be considered a common foul. So in LeBron's era, just to put this one to bed, just on that basis alone, I think that conversation ends, because hand checking is a thing that was allowed in Jordan's day, but not now. And that's just where you're able to use your hands to defend somebody, where you're able to put your hands on their back to direct them to where you want to go.
On the hips.
Much closer to, on the hips and the back. You can put your forearm into their back, their elbow into the back. That's an immediate foul nowadays. There are those that believe that had Michael Jordan played now, that he could have possibly averaged close to 60 points a game. And for those that don't know basketball, like, nobody's really averaging more than 32 at the moment.
Not at the moment.
That's considered pretty incredible. I mean, Steph Curry has averaged what he's done from firing from deep, from way, way, way away from the basket. Michael Jordan's game was inside the 3-point.
It was inside.
He was never a brilliant 3-point shooter, but he was literally flying above everybody.
He was
dunking on top of them.
As a kid, that was the mystique of Michael Jordan, though, that he could fly. That was the marketing which we all believed. All believed. But going back to the physical side of basketball as well, if we can go back, people who, as you said, in England and Ireland growing up, basketball's not a physical sport. If you're running into a screen on someone who's 6'4", you see how physical that sport is then. Because it's different.
Yeah, and also it's without the ball underneath the basket, trying to get position to try and catch rebounds. I mean, that's where the elbows fly. That's where teeth go out of heads, and so when there is no pads, there's no helmets, and there's no one really watching, because everybody's watching the ball. I do think that your point about, like, this is a whole other category of the greatness of it, is the mystique and the manner in which he became, put on a pedestal, that was about style. And that's, there's this whole other category that nobody has ever shifted the world on its axis in terms of thinking around a sport. I mean, can you think of another athlete who has effectively made a sport cool, that has taken it from being a fringe sport was not even broadcast on national TV in the United States in real time? Like, there wasn't live games broadcast, other than a few very small examples, that he, along with that generation of players, made it cool. And
made it cool.
That's significant. I always, like, my introduction to all of this is 1992. For those of you old enough to remember listening, will be the kind of formation of the Beatles of basketball was the Dream Team. And at that point, when they came to the Olympics, the Dream Team arrived into Barcelona. It it did change the world. Like
Yes,
it
it
really
did.
did
Yeah.
change how everybody viewed this thing, and how, for the very first time, we were getting to see exactly how good America was at the sport versus
Yes.
everybody else in the world. Because up to that point, only amateurs were allowed to play. College players they would send, while everybody sent their best players. The
Hmm.
college kids would American college kids would beat them routinely. But you know, the cool factor, which some people might dismiss, like, I don't know if there's an athlete, a sports person, um, in that category of icon, fashion icon.
It's so
Like the
it's
way
so
people wear shorts.
it's
Yeah,
crazy
go
because
ahead.
I had the baggy shorts, I had the Jordans, and it's crazy how he was so stylish on the court. You take him off the court,
Yeah.
and those suits just don't age well, do they?
Well, I don't know. The '90s they did. I felt like the '90s, the big shoulders
Yes, yeah.
and the high waist.
The
He really
trousers,
likes
yeah.
pulling his trousers up high. I don't know why, but he does like wearing them up around, right,
He
fully up
does.
around the nipples like
He
a
does.
cummerbund. Um, but you know, man, there was nothing the man couldn't sell, and
Yeah.
that's the evidence of what we're talking about here. That his name was on everything, and some people would put him down as a shill for that, or other people would put him down as a shrewd businessman who has continued to make more money than most basketball players in the
It's
league are
incredible
making.
his
Current
post
active
career.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His
yeah.
post career is
So it's just
incredible.
it's living on. Like I think George Best maybe is the closest for those that aren't into basketball listening to this. Um, George Best changed a view of football as a kind of, a rough and raw kind of game where, there wasn't flair and style and flashiness wasn't really in the English game up to that point. That was something that Brazilian people did.
Yes. Yeah.
George Best made that, from what I understand, he made style and showmanship part of the game, and the entertainment factor of the game, and that is why he's regarded as one of the goats of Manchester United. Certainly, Jordan shifted what. Think about it this way: how entertaining this thing could be. He
Mhm.
kicked open the doors as to why you would tune in to watch this thing in the first place. I mean, we definitely wouldn't know the NBA as it is today. You wouldn't see
No.
kids walking around with the NBA logo on their t-shirt were it not for him.
And the thing is, as well, he was this marketing machine, but he was he was the best on the court. You couldn't get near him on the court. Like, for example, David Beckham he's a great footballer. No teammate has ever said a bad thing about David Beckham because of his work ethic and how great he was at football.
Mm.
But David Beckham wasn't the standout player. He was the guy who could sell
Mm.
Adidas. He could be the marketing guy. He could be at
Mm.
awards and say, but Michael Jordan was all that and the killer on the court. He was the guy going home with the defensive player of the year. He was going home with the scoring titles. He was going home with the
Both
MVPs.
ends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, both ends. I mean, that, like, if we're going to quickly run through just some factors that need to be taken into consideration here, it is the dominance,
Mm-hmm.
like the period of dominance. So, winning scoring titles as the highest scoring player is one thing. That is just literally one factor. That you can score loads of points and score loads of goals in whatever sport you're in,
Mm-hmm.
but actually converting that into championship trophies
Yes.
is quite another thing. And that took time. Like, that did take 9 years to
Mm-hmm.
come about, or was it 7 years to come about, which was considered
84.
quite a long time at the time.
Yeah.
And but the pressure of that, that, like, it wasn't like David Beckham could definitely hide in the shadows among a
Mm-hmm.
team of superstars. Um, there's no place to hide for this man. I mean, it
No.
was literally, to that extent, you can appreciate the LeBron comparison in that way, that neither man ever got to be number two.
No.
It was all on him. But, like, Leroy, one of the reasons why this dude inspired me and inspired all of us was the work ethic.
Yes.
Because there's a mythology and there's a legend around him, and it begins with him being cut from his high school
Yes.
team, which if
Leroy
you've
Smith.
read
Is it
about the guy,
Leroy?
you understand there's more. There's
Yeah.
there's more to this story than meets the eye. But so the actual story is that Michael Jordan was dropped from the A team in
Hmm.
secondary school, right? And the mythology and the legend is, and that drove him to prove these men that they were wrong about him.
Hmm.
And whether that's true or not, which we kind of know now is not really true, that in fact those coaches recognized that he had a supreme talent that would be best nurtured on the B team for a year where he could become a scoring machine, which was like some amazing judgment on their part.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
even though the guy that did cut him became a bit of a running joke in the town and around North Carolina, he probably made one of the most influential decisions in this man's life.
Yeah.
That had he not been given the opportunity to just be out there dominating, scoring point after point, we may not know this man to be what he is today without that choice.
Hmm.
But either way, the I took that personal thing began there.
Yes.
And that kind of drive that a lot of us, I guess, are searching for, the kind of motivation, the inspiration to find kind of an example of somebody that is told no
Hmm.
and won't accept that answer.
Yeah.
That's that is kind of within every comedian,
Hmm.
because if you were to know how bad you are at comedy in the beginning, you would quit.
Yeah.
But all comedians are deluded. All of them.
100%. 100%.
No one's good right away. No one is good right away. If you could go back, if you've ever listened to some of the stuff you did in the beginning,
Wow.
you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I really should have left this. But you have some vision,
Hmm.
a
It's
delusion
delusional.
that
It's 100%
I
delusional.
am better than this.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you're searching for things, aren't you? You're searching for reasons to believe it can be done, and examples of people who've you know not been thrust into success right away,
Hmm.
because the road is hard for
It's a hard road,
comedy
and
comedians. So it's
and
not
that's
tar and roofs, it's
so
not nursing,
it's a
but
tough
it
one.
is a grind.
And with Michael Jordan as well, we see the 6 championships, we see Game 6 against Utah, etc. People forget about that early beating from Detroit. They forget about these hurdles he had to jump over, so many different hurdles to finally get to the mountaintop when they won their first championship.
Well, I don't think anybody knew about it
No,
until The Last Dance,
yeah,
and
we knew
The
about we
Last
knew
Dance comes
about him,
on
didn't we?
Netflix. We knew,
We
yeah,
knew,
we
yeah.
knew, but I don't think we even like I've probably read a dozen, maybe more, Michael Jordan books from
Hmm.
every angle around, from within the game. I've interviewed authors that were around the Chicago Bulls at that time.
Hmm.
The guy that wrote the Jordan Rules, Sam Smith, I had him on
Brilliant
my
book.
podcast. And amazing book, but so many different views. There's so many different angles of the impact and the period. And really, people have right now got one narrative, and that is this Last Dance documentary, which, as we hinted at the start, is a propaganda piece to a large extent, because it glosses over some of the darker parts of
Yes.
this man. I mean, Neil Brennan wrote an amazing joke about how he's all for mental health, but just not in his sports ethics. It's like the
Yes.
one thing we learned about Michael Jordan is that he's the greatest of all time, but he's also might be one of the greatest psychopaths of all
Yes.
time,
Thank God he found
because
basketball.
his mental
Yeah.
health wasn't great.
Hmm.
He was driven by rage and vendettas and slights that were engineered, that in
Yes.
some cases didn't exist.
Mhm.
That is one thing that I think the Last Dance really did portray quite well, was the extent to which he concocted reasons
Yeah.
to work hard, and
Hmm.
sometimes they were utter fiction. Now, that produces 6 championships. Does that produce a nice person to work with?
No.
The answer is absolutely no. I would say he's the greatest of all time in terms of shit colleagues. If you were working with someone who tries to beat you to the toilet every morning,
Yes.
never mind beat you at the sport you're playing, he
As
literally
a
wouldn't
teammate.
allow anybody be ahead of him on a single sprint. So if they're doing sprints from one end of the court to the other, he never lost a single sprint his entire career. Like, think about
That's
the
insane.
mania of that,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well, going
This
back,
is
going back to what
like,
you were saying, it's incredible because I remember. I think I've told you this story when he came to Cardiff for the Ryder Cup, about 13, 14 years ago. Michael Jordan was in every single club in Cardiff, and for me, as a childhood hero, I stayed away from every club because I didn't want to meet him because I knew if I met him, I would just be so disappointed, and because
disappointed.
he just pushed me away. He just pushed me away, and I just thought, keep the heroes as the heroes. Yeah, because I knew, what we
Yeah,
were
and
dealing
also
with.
you don't know what you might have seen. I mean, this is the other thing.
Yes,
It's like I just prefer to think that Roy Keane is brooding in an office chair, looking out the window, simmering with rage for the rest of his life.
yes,
And similarly,
but
I don't like to think of Michael Jordan with a gut, with a cigar, and girls hanging off him. I'm like,
no,
nah, I definitely need to keep that childhood image intact.
yeah,
But like reading all about the darker side of the man. Like I interviewed Roland Lazenby, who wrote
great
probably the
book.
definitive book on Michael Jordan, The Life, if anybody's
Hmm.
looking for it. The other book that I'd recommend is Blood on the Horns, which is kind of The Last Dance with a bit more grit and
Hmm.
grime to it. If you really want the stuff we're talking about here, but Roland Lazenby is just an unbelievable basketball writer and
Yeah,
really delved into the lineage and the family tree of the Jordans and how does an icon like this come about,
hmm,
and was there any other greats in the family, uh, and then goes right down deep into what took place towards the end of his career and how the things we're describing resulted in this comeback to the Wizards, a team that he was basically working in the front office of.
yeah,
But because he was looking at everybody else making a hames of it, he couldn't handle it.
no,
So he put the gear back on and said, "I'll show you how it's done." But his body
yeah,
wasn't going to play ball.
uh,
So there is that. That's the other side of The Last Dance. This is why The Last Dance had to work,
yes,
because
yep.
you don't get to see there is another dance. There's
There's
one more
another
dance and it's
chapter.
terrible.
And he was horrible. I can't remember
Yeah.
the number one draft pick straight out of high school. He was absolutely
Oh, Kwame
horrible.
Brown.
Oh, he broke him,
Yeah,
didn't he? He
like
broke him.
workplace bullying.
Yes,
Workplace
yeah.
bullying. That's what we'd call it today.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, I think bullying like that takes place in a lot of these environments. I don't think
Hmm.
that that's exclusive
No.
to MJ, but it was a hard time, a hard man's sport, and I would imagine similarly. All jokes about mental health aside, I mean, how many people really were struggling in those environments, and you know a guy like MJ would be like, toughen the fuck up,
Yeah,
you got to be
yeah,
tough. It's a tough time, and I'm glad we've moved on somewhat from then.
yeah, 100%. You think of Michael's legacy then in terms of who he inspired, the players that he inspired, and the
Mm.
greatness of people trying to emulate him. The first person you think of in terms of Michael 1A, someone who's going to emulate him is Kobe. And Kobe was almost like a carbon
Yeah.
copy of Michael in terms of the way he played, in terms of his mentality as well. Kobe stories,
Mm.
it's almost like he takes it further than Michael sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, is your audience aware? Like, I feel like people aren't really aware of what Kobe was. I think that sometimes Kobe to me is much more of like a symbol which is what he wanted to be. This
Yes,
is the
yeah.
whole Batman analogy between us, like the Mamba mentality. I mean, how many how many people could tell you right now listening to this, how many rings does Kobe have?
Mhm.
I feel like he he really has become the kind of TikTok age sporting legend, whereas Michael, we watched it in real time. We
Yes, yes.
watched it late at night on Channel 4. Game 6 against Utah was something I watched live,
Hmm.
whereas Kobe, I feel, it's a legend that's being understood in reverse. And he played his hand very close to his chest in
Yeah.
many ways in terms of his idolization of Michael Jordan, because it wouldn't have been cool to
No.
to say you're my favorite player. But in reality, the reason why Kobe went to the NBA rather than college, straight out of high school, 17 years old playing for the Lakers,
Hmm.
was because he heard a rumor that Michael Jordan was going to retire soon
I
and he
never knew
wanted to
this.
play him.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, yeah. He admitted that he was to go to Duke was the team,
Hmm.
and he couldn't risk it. He couldn't risk not getting to play against uh, his idol. Now,
Wow.
everything we understand to be Kobe in terms of the work ethic, in terms of his game. You're right. It, it's it's all based on his adulation, his fascination, his obsession with this man. And I mean, you've probably shared the same TikTok reels as I have of exactly how much the games looked the exact same. And I don't mark him down for it, because really, why wouldn't you try and emulate the greatest of
Yes.
all time? Like, why wouldn't you try and choreograph your game? He's 6'6", you're 6'7". You've the exact same body type, but what is funny though is when you watch that stuff back, you realize again the level of athleticism, the
Hmm.
freakish nature of this greatest of all time, and that is the 48-inch vertical leap
Ridiculous.
that Michael Jordan had. Never ever measured his jump, but he could jump an awful lot higher than Kobe. Like,
Hmm.
there's footage of Michael Jordan hitting his head off the backboard many times. The backboard is about 3 inches below the hoop. So if you think about that, for people listening to this who don't watch basketball, 10 feet's your hoop. So he's hitting his head off the stanchion of the hoop, which is 9 feet, 9 feet nine up
Wow.
there,
Yeah.
and he has to duck underneath it. His speed, the power. Kobe was trying to emulate something that really nobody's reached since.
No. No.
Like, there are players that look like him, strong, and there's never been, and I don't think there ever will be, the full combination, the full toolkit, right? Uh, but when you say Kobe's the number one example, everyone though, every single person,
Yeah.
this is the greatest of all time debate put to bed for me, is like, if you're the greatest of all time, every single person that picks up the thing that you're trying to do has to think of you for a brief moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes you the greatest of all time in my book.
Hmm.
If you're a stand-up comic of a level to be called the greatest of all time, everyone must know you and everyone must be aware of your work. And
Yes.
that
You
is the
must.
case with Michael Jordan.
And he was universal in terms of he was the first global basketball star.
Mm.
Magic and Bird, they were huge in basketball communities, but Michael
Mm.
transcended that, and it was the right
Mm.
time as well. So in terms of he was hitting his peak towards '92 when the game went global, which he played a huge part in. But that '92 Olympics was just kismet, wasn't it? In terms of everything hitting the same time.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, all of those guys that you mentioned, it's like, yeah, they probably impacted America
Hmm.
in a similar way. Like, for white guys living in middle America, Larry Bird was their inspiration. That
Yeah.
even if you're slow, you can still be an all-star.
Yeah.
And Magic Johnson was proof that you can light it up in a Ronaldinho fashion with a smile on
Yes.
your face while
Hmm.
doing the most sensationally beautiful things with the ball. but Michael Jordan was global. I
Yeah.
mean, he is at one point recognized as one of the most known people on the planet,
Yeah.
and to this day, if you went to people, they may not know that he jumped from the free throw line many times, that he did that in a game once, that he won all these titles. But if you say Jordan to anybody on this planet, they know,
My kids,
like they know something about the greatest.
yeah, 4 and 9, they would know what Jordan, they would hear of Jordan trainers, or they would see someone in school with a backpack with a Jordan on there. One of the kids the other day, I said, oh, I would have done anything for that bag as a kid. Because that, that was the thing. To have, even have a sweatband with the Jumpman on it, that was the thing. But speaking about that global level, where does Ali fit in this then, in terms of the greatest of all time? Because Ali ticks a lot of those boxes in terms of transcending the sport, in terms of excellence, in terms of just that global legacy, because he was one of the most well-known people in the world as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would be your number one category for debate here, right? Because the one area Michael Jordan is lacking in is activism.
Yeah.
To me, that when you have that platform, why not use it? Why not do something with it? And I felt that was maybe the darkest thing that The Last Dance pointed out. And it's no shock that afterwards he did make large donations to different things after that series went out, because perhaps there was a little bit of reflection on his part.
Yeah.
Perhaps that was a marketing decision by Nike. Who knows? But Ali did everything Michael Jordan did on a smaller scale, I think.
Yeah.
I wasn't there at the time, so I can't tell you the scale of it. But the dominance is certainly not the same.
Yeah.
The dominance is not the same. The sport was not owned. The sport of boxing was not owned by Muhammad Ali for 2 decades. That just wasn't the case. The impact that he had across the world was phenomenal and still reverberates to this day. So that in that way it's 1-1 there, but still the dominance is everything. Does Ali get the nod though? Does he win on points on the basis that he became a lightning rod for human rights, race rights, an ambassador for African Americans who were being treated horribly, for the draft, for his stance that he took on these things? I think he kicks Michael Jordan's ass every day of the week and twice on Sundays on those issues, because it's an opportunity wasted, isn't it? That you have what we just spent 32 minutes discussing and you don't use it. Like, we're talking, like, if you think about when his era falls, NWA are top of the charts, Public Enemy are top of the charts, the Rodney King riots are happening when he wins his first championship.
Yeah.
And he deliberately made the choice not to get involved, and unfortunately that is a bit of a black mark there, isn't it?
I think it is, and they did explain that on The Last Dance. I think just in maybe in his defense, he was so singularly focused on things that he couldn't even have the bandwidth to even think about those things, or even, for him, he was just, I've got to win. That's all I care. I'm an athlete, I'm going to win. And, maybe that's the one, that is the mark against him, that he didn't have the context of the time as well.
But isn't that exactly the problem we're facing with every type of activism? That everybody is got their head in their phone or in their Xbox. They're so focused on what's important to them. I think that's a kind of a horrible example that he sets in that way, that while he sets such a great example for me growing up in the back arse of nowhere in Ireland to work hard 24/7 every day of the week to try and improve every day. But there's a selfishness.
Yeah,
there.
Selfish.
There is certainly I'm all right, Jack.
Yeah.
Like the quote that is attributed to him is that, Republicans buy shoes too. And he'll never shake that, because whether it was said or it wasn't said, it fit. It fit. It made
Yes.
sense to people
Yeah.
that, like, that does sound like something he would say.
Mm-hmm.
So whether he said it or not becomes irrelevant. It was reported that he had said that on a bus when asked who he was voting for in the election and how he was going to skate above it. Um, man, it's such a shame, because look
Yeah.
at Bill Russell, another great of
Exactly.
the game of
Yes.
basketball. Kareem,
Mm-hmm.
like, it was possible to do it, but then are, does he have the unifying impact that we've just discussed if he went political, if he got political? Or I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. We'll never know. But I do think you've got put a great argument for Michael Jeffrey Jordan to be the greatest of all time on that. Before we go, I'd love to just a quick fire greatest of all time, because I'm speaking to a great comedian at the moment. So who's your greatest comedian of all time? That's a
You
tough
broke
one,
up
isn't
there.
it?
Say that one again.
So whilst I got you, just a few short questions in terms of like
Yeah.
comedy. Who's the greatest comic of all time?
Greatest comic of
It's a
all
tough
time
one,
is
isn't
a
it?
tricky one,
It's a
isn't it?
really
Because you're
tough
talking
one.
about art.
Yeah, you're talking about, and it's like
It's
favorite
a completely
song.
subjective thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who did you
like,
look up to as a kid?
well, here's the thing. Like, I'm into floor fillers. If we're going to relate it to music,
Okay.
I think it's really hard to write pop songs.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Kanye talking about this, that like that you can write a niche track that will get the those that are into that particular thing to enjoy it, but getting a song that everybody at the wedding enjoys and everybody comes out and dances to,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's the hardest thing to do. Or to relate that to Michael Jordan, you can be the best rebounder, you can focus all of your energy on being the best passer, but can you lead the team in all categories? All
Yeah.
categories:
Mm-hmm.
steals, assists, rebounds, points.
Yeah.
I mean, who is that comedian that can do it all? That is, has that many tools in the toolbox. It is exceptionally hard to argue for one over another, because they're like, this is how I look at it, Leroy. Comedians are like mad scientists.
Mm-hmm.
They're inventing a new instrument that only they can play. And it takes them sometimes 30 years to actually figure out how to get a tune out of
Mm-hmm.
the instrument that they invented.
Yeah.
And convince people that you want to hear this. Wait till you hear this. It's completely a one of a kind instrument that I've invented, and that you're gonna love listening to if you give it a chance. How then do you compare the oboe that Chappelle has created to the accordion that Jerry Seinfeld is getting a great tune out of? It's
Yeah.
nearly impossible. It's actually nearly impossible to compare them. Certainly the ones that I looked up to growing up, I looked up to Dylan Moran a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When I was starting out, I really, really loved just his performance, his use of language, and the left turn. He take you somewhere and then go left. You never
Yeah.
see that turn coming, and means with such flair, just such flair. Um, Seinfeld's always been big for me, although
Me too.
like it is hard again to separate his politics from his comedy now, because
Mm-hmm.
in the past, since October 7th, it's just been exceptionally hard to not feel like, oh, that changes things a
Yes,
little
it
bit
does.
in
It
the
does.
views that he's expressed. Um, yeah, I mean, those would be the two that stand out for me. Zach Galifianakis, though, there's someone who's quit comedy,
Mm-hmm.
who, for my money, has the funniest bones in the world. Might
Okay.
be the greatest comedian, but if anybody has seen his stand up is phenomenal. Uh, he, he he was an unbelievable joke writer, and he was the comedian I saw at the Kilkenny Festival
Yeah.
where I said, I'm going to do this. I have to give this a go.
Wow.
Because he was just an example of somebody marching to the beat of his own tune, doing something completely original, playing the piano while doing one-liners and destroying, like killing so hard, and then scything down people in the audience with withering put-downs. I'd never seen anything like it. And then he just drops it and goes directly towards film, where he is a superb actor and maybe one of the best comedy actors of his generation. I think he's right up there. I don't think he gets enough respect.
Wow, that's really. I'll have to look at his stand-up. So I've never really seen any of his stand-up before. I've seen his
You've never seen it?
Never seen his stand-up. No. I'm in for the treat after this. So this is So one of the things for the audience, whenever I speak to you, Jarlath, I always come out just inspired and my cup full. You always give me something. You might not even realize what you're doing, but you always give me some inspiration to go find something to, going back to all those years.
Embarrassing.
Mate. When I first met you, I was out in love with basketball, and we were in the green room, and you're like, "Watch this!" And it was Kevin Durant at Rucker Park, just raining threes. Mate, it was beautiful. I fell back in love with basketball after being away from it for many years. Last time I saw you.
Really? That video did it?
That's the video, mate.
So like you'd fallen off the basketball wagon and I was like, take a shot of this.
Have a hit
You were
of
like,
this.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm going to be drinking all day long now.
Yes,
that's amazing. That is amazing. But isn't it beautiful that it's that street ball? That is another thing that loads of people that maybe are listening to this who don't know about basketball is like when soccer players finish the season, what do?
Holiday.
They go on a yacht with a model. They play with their kids. Basketball players are cut different. They are built different. They seek out games of basketball wherever they can get them.
Yes.
And you know why they're allowed to do that? The love of the game clause in Michael Jordan's contract.
I never knew that.
Not only was he the greatest basketball player, he was the one who said, I need to be allowed to play this game whenever I like. So teams weren't allowed to tell him, you're not allowed to play in the summer.
Wow.
He made it so that basketball players could pursue the passion in the off season. And that is the video that you saw. You saw an MVP playing in the streets of New York against plumbers.
A place where you can go. I've been up to Rucker Park.
Pro ball.
Have you been up to Rucker Park?
So jealous.
Well, you wouldn't be that jealous because we went up there, myself and my son, and it was closed for refurbishment. So we missed it.
Gutting. And actually that video I showed you was at Dykeman Park, which is just up the road. If you'd gone there, you could have gone and seen that one.
But it was a blessing.
The parks around America, I got lucky enough to get to tour America this year with the last stand-up show I made, and I just love that there's hoops and quality nets everywhere, and that this is a priority for parks and recreation across America. It's just a beautiful thing.
But a beautiful thing about missing on Rucker Park was that it was closed. So myself and my son, we said, we're going to go down to Leroy Street in the village. Went down to look for Leroy Street, got lost, and I bumped into one of my goats, Dave Chappelle. So it was a blessing.
Oh my God, that's how that happened.
Yeah, so
he was... No, it was directly A to B.
Yes.
That's how that occurred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then we saw a street ball game on West something in Greenwich Village, a famous court, and there was a game going on there.
The Cage?
Yes.
Yeah, you're breaking up horribly here for some reason. I don't know why.
No worries, mate. I think we're done. Thank you so much. Have you got anything that you'd like to say in terms of what you're doing next? Or because I know that you're constantly writing and you're building up again. You've just finished the tour.
We're actually adding more dates to that tour.
Amazing.
So In Bits is the show that I've been touring, that I went around America with, and Canada, and I'm going to Australia with that in November to do Perth, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and then I'm going to fly to New Zealand for one show in Auckland. And then the brand new show, Gas Man, is going to be coming to the UK in 2026, and that is available. All of it is available. All of my stuff is available. Jigsaw sportsmen.com is the place to go.
Brilliant. I've seen in bits. I've caught the Cardiff show is amazing. It's always great to speak to you, mate. You don't understand how much of an inspiration you are and a true friend to me.
No.
So it's great to speak to you. And I love having you on the podcast.
Cheers, man. Thanks so much for having me. Absolute pleasure, and good luck with the series.
Thanks, mate. So that was my conversation with Jarlath Regan, discussing why Michael Jeffrey Jordan was the greatest of all time, is the greatest of all time still. And it's hard to argue with that. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Every week I'll be bringing a new guest discussing the GOAT, who their GOAT is. So I hope you enjoy that. If you can do me a favor, please press the subscribe button. Please comment and leave a review. And I'll see you next week.